For every team on the grid, the 2026 regulations represent a fundamental reset. Lighter, nimbler cars with all-new aerodynamics and revolutionary power units, splitting power 50-50 between the engine and the battery, have wiped the slate clean. For teams that struggled in the previous era, this is their golden opportunity. For the champions, it's a minefield of risk. After 3 days of hushed running, the central question is this: have the early pace setters like Red Bull and Mercedes found a conceptual silver bullet right out of the box, or is their aggressive start a high-risk gamble that will be undone by the more methodical, reliability-focused approach of their rivals? To answer that, we have to dissect the divergent philosophies that have emerged from the Barcelona gloom, starting with the two teams that immediately went for the jugular: Red Bull and Mercedes. Let's be clear, pre-season testing times are notoriously misleading, but when a pattern emerges, you have to pay attention. On day one, as reported by ESPN, it was Red Bull's junior driver Isaac Hadjar who unofficially topped the timesheets. Mercedes' George Russell was second, a significant half a second behind. On day two, the reigning world champion Max Verstappen took over the Red Bull and, according to the race, promptly set the fastest time of the test, a 1 minute 19.578. This wasn't a glory run, it was a statement of intent. The immediate pace of both the Red Bull and the Mercedes W17, which one source described as looking impressive immediately, points to a shared core philosophy: performance aggression. So what does this mean in engineering terms? The 2026 regulations, as outlined by Formula1.com, are built around the concept of a nimble car. The chassis is lighter and smaller, designed to promote closer racing. Red Bull and Mercedes appear to have interpreted this as a mandate to push the aerodynamic boundaries from day one. Their quick laps suggest they have arrived with cars that are already generating significant downforce, likely through aggressive interpretations of the new active aerodynamics and underfloor regulations. They are chasing the ultimate performance ceiling, believing that any reliability issues can be ironed out later. It's a philosophy of make the car fast, then make it reliable. This approach carries immense risk. The evidence? Isaac Hadjar, after setting that blistering pace, ended his day with a crash that brought out the red flags. Red Bull was pushing the limit, and the limit pushed back. This is the trade-off. By chasing pure pace, you are operating on a knife edge, where a minor miscalculation or a driver error can end your day's running, costing you precious data. For Red Bull, a 27-lap run from Verstappen, while fast, is a paltry amount of data compared to their rivals. They are betting that the quality of their performance is more valuable than the quantity of laps. It's a confident, almost arrogant strategy that signals they believe they have the fundamentals of the new regulations figured out. Now, let's look at the polar opposite approach, the one taken by Ferrari and, to an even greater extent, Haas. While Red Bull and Mercedes were hunting headlines with lap times, these two teams were focused on one thing: mileage. On day one, Haas quietly completed 154 laps, the most of any team. That is an enormous amount of running, equivalent to well over 2 Spanish Grand Prix distances. On day two, as rain hampered running, Ferrari still managed to rack up a combined 123 laps between Charles Leclerc and new teammate Lewis Hamilton. This wasn't about speed, it was about building a database. This is the make the car reliable, then make it fast philosophy. Why would a team choose this seemingly less glamorous path? Because the 2026 power units are, in a word, a nightmare of complexity. The removal of the MGU-H and the massive increase in electrical power deployment create a huge integration challenge. The software that manages the flow of energy between the internal combustion engine, the battery, and the MGU-K is arguably the single most important component on the car this year. Getting it wrong doesn't just cost you performance, it can destroy the entire power unit. This is where the driver feedback becomes critical. Esteban Ocon, now at Haas and using a customer Ferrari power unit, gave a revealing verdict to motorsport.com after his marathon run. He described the new cars as very different, very complicated, and said he was lucky for simulator days to get prepared. He spoke of chasing gremlins in the complex cockpit systems. This is the reality of the new regulations. Before you can push for the final tenth of a second, you have to ensure the hundreds of systems are all speaking to each other correctly. Charles Leclerc echoed this sentiment, stating that Ferrari's focus was on completing their checklist before worrying about performance. For Ferrari, a team that has suffered from painful reliability issues in the past, starting 2026 with a car that can run like a clock, even in the wet, is a massive victory. It builds a solid foundation upon which they can now start to add performance. They may be behind Red Bull on the stopwatch today, but they are miles ahead in terms of understanding their new power unit and chassis. This divide between the aggressors and the marathon runners creates a fascinating strategic dilemma. But the grid in 2026 is larger and more complex than just those two groups. We have newcomers, returning giants, and teams that seem to be on the back foot before the season has even begun. Let's start with the brand new entry, Cadillac. Partnering with Sauber, the American giant made its official F1 debut with Valtteri Bottas completing over 30 laps on day one in an all-black testing livery. This was a solid, if unspectacular, start. They put miles on the car and avoided any major public failures. However, they, along with the other new works team, Audi, paused their running on day two to fix what were likely the inevitable teething issues that come with a brand new operation. This is the standard developmental process for a new team. Their goal in this first test isn't to compete with Mercedes, but to simply ensure their car can function. Every lap is a learning experience. Then there is McLaren. The team that finished 2025 on such a high note was conspicuously absent from the track on both day one and day two. According to reports from the race, this was a deliberate strategic delay. Instead of rushing their car, the MCL40, to the first day of the test, they opted to hold back, giving themselves more time for preparation and shakedown procedures at the factory. They chose to debut on day three, after their rivals had already shown their hands and, crucially, encountered problems. This is a conservative, intelligent philosophy. McLaren watched Red Bull crash, saw others struggle with reliability, and observed the impact of the rainy conditions. By waiting, they could ensure their first run would be in better weather and with a car that had undergone more rigorous checks. It's a sign of a mature, confident team that is playing the long game. They sacrificed 2 days of track time for what they hope will be a higher quality, more productive test program overall. It's a stark contrast to the get on track at all costs mentality we sometimes see. Finally, we have the laggards, and it's deeply concerning to see Aston Martin and Williams in this group. Aston Martin missed the first day of the test, only planning to run on Thursday and Friday, citing readiness concerns. But the most alarming signal came from Williams, who skipped the Barcelona test entirely due to build delays. In the modern era of Formula One, with its budget caps and tightly controlled testing, failing to get your car to the very first test is a catastrophic failure of project management. It suggests a fundamental problem in their design or production process. While other teams were gathering crucial data on the most complex regulations in a generation, the Williams car was still being built. They are now so far behind the curve that their entire season could be compromised. They will arrive at the official pre-season test with zero real-world data, trying to accomplish in a few days what their rivals have had weeks to do. It's a disastrous start to a new era. So what makes these different approaches so fascinating is how they reflect each team's position and recent history. Red Bull, as the reigning champions, can afford the risk of an aggressive design. They have the resources and the confidence to believe they can solve any problems that arise. Their focus is on staying ahead of the pack. Mercedes, desperate to return to their winning ways, is also rolling the dice on an aggressive concept, hoping to leapfrog the competition from the very start. Their W17, looking so strong out of the box, is a clear signal that they are not interested in a gradual recovery. In contrast, Ferrari's methodical, high-mileage approach is born from the painful lessons of the past. How many times have we seen a fast but fragile Ferrari fall by the wayside? By prioritizing reliability, they are trying to build a championship campaign on a foundation of consistency. They are willing to sacrifice early glory for the promise of a car that can finish every race. Haas, as a customer team, has no choice but to adopt a similar strategy. Their primary job is to help Ferrari gather data on the power unit while ensuring their own car can survive a race distance. For them, finishing in the points is a victory, and reliability is the first step toward that goal. This divergence in philosophy is exactly what the 2026 regulations were designed to create. The rules are a new puzzle, and each team is trying to solve it in a different way. The driver feedback from this first test provides the most human insight into this technical challenge. While most drivers gave generic positive comments, Ocon's admission that the cars are complicated and that he was chasing gremlins is incredibly revealing. It pulls back the curtain on the immense workload these new cars place on the driver. They are not just driving, they are actively managing incredibly complex energy recovery systems, dealing with new active aerodynamics, and providing constant feedback to the engineers. The driver who can get on top of this complexity the fastest will have a significant advantage. Our resident F1 technical expert, Gary Anderson, noted that the key battleground will be in the power unit integration and the subsequent aerodynamic packaging. He explained, "The teams that have prioritized mileage, like Ferrari and Haas, are building a crucial understanding of how the new power unit behaves in the real world. Every lap is data on cooling requirements, energy deployment strategies, and vibration harmonics. This data allows them to refine their aerodynamic package with confidence. A team like Red Bull might have a faster aero concept on paper, but if they have to open up the bodywork later to solve cooling issues, that advantage could disappear overnight." This is the strategic chess match being played. Red Bull is betting on their simulation tools being accurate enough to allow for an aggressive aero design from the start. Ferrari is using the track as a real-world wind tunnel to validate their choices before committing to a development direction. The implications of these choices will define the entire 2026 season. If Red Bull's aggressive concept is both fast and reliable, they could be unstoppable. The cost cap makes it incredibly difficult for rivals to perform a mid-season design pivot. A fundamental concept choice made in January is one you are likely stuck with for the entire year. If Mercedes has truly nailed the aerodynamic platform and has a powerful, reliable engine, they could immediately return to championship contention, creating a three-way fight at the front. However, if the high-mileage approach of Ferrari pays off and the aggressors falter with reliability problems, then the Scuderia could build an early championship lead that proves difficult to overcome. The development war will be fascinating. Will we see teams like McLaren, with their conservative start, rapidly develop their car and catch the leaders? Or will the laggards, Aston Martin and especially Williams, be permanently left behind, unable to recover from their disastrous start? We are not just watching a new car being tested. We are watching a series of high-stakes strategic gambles that will shape the competitive landscape for years to come. So to answer our central question, is there a single, correct concept for 2026? The initial data from this secret test suggests there isn't. We are seeing a clear and exciting divergence between high-risk, high-reward aggression and methodical foundational reliability. Red Bull and Mercedes have fired the first shot, but Ferrari and Haas have the data. It's a classic tortoise versus the hare scenario, played out with the most advanced racing cars on the planet. This technical battle is just beginning, and it will evolve with every race weekend. What's your verdict on the strategies we've seen so far? A stroke of genius from Red Bull, or a masterclass in preparation from Ferrari? Let me know your analysis in the comments below. To get the deepest, most informed analysis on how this story unfolds throughout the 2026 season, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Our goal is to bring 50,000 of us together for the most intelligent F1 conversation on the platform.